What's going on, guys? So today I'm going to be going over my 5-year review on the Foxbody. So for those of you that don't know, I've had the car for about 5 years now. I bought it back in 2013. So today I'm basically just going to be going over all the good and the bad things that's happened to me in the car and how it held up, because I daily drove it for about 2 or 3 years. Tell you guys exactly what went wrong during that time frame. Let's get to it. So before I decided to daily drive the car, I first did a bunch of maintenance repairs on it. For example, I did the spark plug, the wires, distributor cap, coolant flush, transmission flush, all that stuff before I daily drove it. So within those 2 or 3 years that I did daily drive the car left me on the side of the road, I think I'd say 1.5 times. And I'm gonna tell you exactly what happened to me. Let's dive right into it. All right, so the first thing that went wrong in my 5-year ownership of the car was the water pump. The water pump started to leak in the seep hole that these particular water pumps have. So underneath these water pumps, there's like a little hole. So whenever you see coolant coming out of there, that basically means either your bearings giving out or your gasket's just completely shot. So that's gonna be the first thing that I replaced, was the water pump. That wasn't a big deal because they're easy to replace and they're relatively cheap in cost. So that's gonna be the first thing. So the second thing that went wrong within the 5 years that I had the car was the heater core. There's a lot of people out there that bypass it like I did. So my heater core was leaking, and instead of taking the whole dash out like everybody else does to replace it, I decided just to bypass it. And I think I have a video of that in my channel somewhere, but that's gonna be the second thing that went bad on this car, was my heater core. So the third thing that I had to replace on this car within the 5 years that I've owned it was the steering rack. My old original steering rack was leaking, and my the boot that covers on the steering rack, it was torn, so there was oil coming out of there. And one day I decided to go down there and just take the boot off, and there was a bunch of oil in there, so I had to replace that. That wasn't a big deal, and it was not that expensive because I did all the work myself. So that's going to be the third thing that I had to replace within the 5 years that I've owned the car. And the fourth thing that I had to replace was the radiator. The original radiator, I don't exactly remember. I think it was leaking somewhere along this side. It was cracked or something. But I bought this one in AutoZone, and this is just a stock replacement. It's been holding up pretty good. Again, it's a cheap fix, but this is gonna be the fourth thing that I've replaced within the 5 years that I've owned this car. So the fifth thing that I replaced, because it was getting cracks in it, was the fan. So if you guys know that these fans are plastic, and over years and years of abuse and just heat cycles, these plastic fans, they typically break on these cars. So this was an easy fix. I ordered the part, I replaced that. So that was not a big deal. And another thing too that I had to replace because it was giving out was my starter. In my previous video, I mentioned that my starter was sticking. I had to replace that, and plus my starter was really weak. So I replaced the starter, and I also replaced the starter solenoid, because you have to replace both at the same time. And once you guys replace that, I recommend you guys get the best, or the Motorcraft one, starter solenoid, so you won't have any issues. And the seventh thing that I had to replace on this car that actually left me on the side of the road was the smog pump. My smog pump seized while I was driving on the freeway. One morning I was going to work, and I started to smell this rubbery smell, and I heard loud screeching, so I had to pull over, had to get off on the freeway. So long story short, my smog pump seized, and that wasn't a big deal because I did have to get the car towed. So when I got home, I took the smog pump off, and I just ran a smaller serpentine belt. So that's one of the bigger issues that this car had, was my smog pump seizing like that. So the last major thing that the car has an issue with is the transmission. Since I've owned the car has a 3rd gear whine, and I think it's a 5th gear whine. So like I said, ever since I bought the car, it's had that whine. So it's been whining for the past 5 years. So hopefully one day I decide to rebuild it or take it to somebody that could rebuild my transmission. But that's going to be the last really big issue on this car. So after all those things were replaced throughout the years, These things weren't back-to-back things that happened. It was basically throughout the year, so don't think that all the bad things that I just mentioned were within a year of owning it or within 6 months of owning it. It was a progressive thing, I guess. Thing two, after I replaced all that stuff, the car has been great. Keep in mind that these cars are over 20-25 years old, and these cars are gonna need a lot more maintenance than your typical car, especially this is a Ford built car. So a lot of you guys know how it is when it comes to Ford back in the 80s and 90s. So yeah, 5 years later, the car is running great. The car has new tires. The only issue that I have right now is oil pan is leaking, and that's something that I don't really want to take on as of right now. The car's been great. I drive it. I take it to these Foxbody meets. I take it out to the canyons whenever I get a chance. So the car's been fun for the past 5 years. So yeah, this car has been fun to own, and it's always fun buying new car parts and installing them and upgrading the car. And another thing too is there's a pretty large following when it comes to these particular Fox bodies. There's a large community, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you name it, and it's been great. So if you guys don't own one, you guys are gonna meet a lot more friends once you do decide to get one. The car, obviously, there's some people that ask me how the MPGs on these cars are, and I really don't know. I kind of just put gas in it and I just drive it. But again, they're gonna be gas guzzlers because they are V8s and they're older cars. So yeah, guys, if you guys enjoyed the video, or if you want to share what you experienced in your Fox body, please comment down below. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you guys want to subscribe, go ahead and subscribe. But that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.